There is so much wrong. And I'm deeply passionate about this. So buckle the fuck up, because I have shit to say about the new seasons of Law & Order. I'm mad about it. I will say this will end on a good note. Let's put it that way. At least there's that. But let's start from the beginning and give some context. I have been watching Law & Order for, I'd say, a year now. It started with Law & Order SVU, and then it just kind of naturally I went on to Law & Order the original. I did not know until recently, as I was binging Law & Order, that there was a 10-year gap between a pair of seasons. It was cancelled and then brought back, and rightfully so, because literally it's Law & Order. Like, how does Mariska Hargitay have a star on the Walk of Fame and the original Law & Order was cancelled for 10 years? Answer me that. There's a reason she's in the new seasons more, because she is the queen. Anyways, the original Law & Order from season 1, which was in 1990, is genuinely the best kind of TV that there is. It's Oscar-winning performances from everybody. I loved all the original cast, so I want to say their names but I can't remember. Oh, Benjamin Stone. Can you guys see Benjamin Stone? Oh. Don't even talk to me about Benjamin Stone. The acting from this dude was fucking insane, and I wish he had stayed on for longer, but he was still in a good few seasons and he was incredible. And I think he was like the standout character for me, because the actors who played the cops, so one of them best known as Mr. Big in Sex and the City, they were good, but they weren't like, when I think about Law & Order, that's not who I think about. I think about Benjamin Stone, I think about, hello, that's the character's name by the way, the real actor's name is Michael Moriarty, but I think about Benjamin Stone, I think about Adam Schiff, I think about who is the district attorney for the majority of Law & Order, I think about Van Buren. I think about Van Buren. I think about, most obviously, Jack. He is the longest ever running character on Law & Order. The original, obviously, not SVU. Jack McCoy, my beloved, Sam Waterston, who was also in Grace and Frankie, which is one of my favourite shows. He is just an incredible actor. Incredible. And I also do think about all the other ADAs, mostly the women. They were so, and this comes into it later and I'll explain why, they were so stunning, and it almost felt like they casted them to be beautiful on purpose, so that then when they were smart, the whole point was that they are smart and beautiful, like they're not just pretty faces. Like that was almost like a point they wanted to make, which I loved, by the way. First of all, I don't even want to talk about it. Claire Kincaid, Claire Kincaid, Claire Kincaid. Claire Kincaid is my wife. That's my woman. That's my woman. That's literally my woman. I think about Serena Sutherland, and I'm gonna bring spoilers in here in a second, but also Alexandra, and who was the most recent one after Alexandra? I know, is the real actress's name Alana, I think. Those 4 women were so integral to Law & Order, and each had their own good like chunk of time on the show. And there was another one, but I can't remember. I think she was not around for that long, but I still think of her as well. But I just think like those women left such a mark on the show. Like I think they carried it just as much as Sam Waterston, who is Jack McCoy. And you'll notice I'm not really talking much about the cops, because I do think the lawyer aspect of it, like the judicial system aspect of it, takes over in Law and Order in comparison to Law and Order SVU, which is heavy on the cop and detective side. And I think they've done that on purpose, so there was a bit of balance that way. Obviously, if you don't know the setup of the show, the first half in Law and Order is the cops and detectives, and the second half is on the literal law and court system and things like that. But I do feel like there are a lot of, it's mostly like, I'd say half, but it's actually more so like 3/4 of the show is based on that aspect. However, I do think cop-wise, the best cops was Green, and who could forget, I say as I forget his real name. I really want to say his real name because I want to talk about the actor. Jerry Orbach. I don't even want to talk about it. Because Jerry Orbach was the father in Dirty Dancing. He played Henry. No, not Henry. He played Harry in Murder, She Wrote, aka my absolute favourite show on the planet of planets. And he's just like a legendary guy, actor. And here come the spoilers, but he dies in real life. He died in 2004, and in 2003, and I think he was there from the very beginning, pretty much, of not the very first season, but I think the second season, or third season, or something like that, of Law and Order, and then there for like 10 years. And in 2003, this is gonna make me cry, they filmed his character Lenny's retirement, and then he died in real life. And they did 2 episodes where they did like a memoriam thing at the end, because he was such a staple, like he had been in it the entirety of his end of life, basically, so like the last decade of his life. And it was so sad. And then I just think after him, and also after Green left, I don't know how I feel about any of the cops in it. And that sentiment remains today. I'll explain. So we have these amazing characters and storylines that I just spoke about for 10 minutes straight, which I didn't mean to do. And then we come into the present day. It's been going on now for, I think, 3 seasons? 3 seasons in the new 4, 3? No, I think it's 3 seasons since that 10-year break. And we have all these characters. It started off with Jack McCoy. Jack McCoy was the only person that came back, and I was so happy it was him, because he genuinely does carry Law and Order on his fucking back. Jack McCoy, and then all these other new characters. After Van Buren and all these like legendary people leave, it is going to be, not even leave, but like the show ended with them and then just unintentionally got brought back up again. It's going to be so hard to replace all of that, to replace all these legendary characters. It's just going to be tricky. And I don't think they've done a very good job at it, if I'm being completely honest. I think the characters that I will give complete like pat on the back for, 1, Jack McCoy does exit as a character in the last season, which was so expected. Sam Waterston is now 80, you know, a lot of time has passed. I'm surprised he even came back in the first place. They are so lucky that he did. But like, that was his show, really. And the character they replaced Sam's character with, so Jack, is played by, I think his name's Tony Goldwyn in real life. Godwin, something like that. I love his character. I really, really like his character, and the actor is a real life activist. I think he's a very good actor. I do still think they can write him better, because this is where they fall off big time, but I think he's a very strong character. And he partially, like Sam did, will save Law and Order. The other character I now like, again in the brand new season, is Maura Tierney's character, who replaced the new lieutenant from the season 1 and 2 of the revival. Now, that's not any hate on Dixon. She, the actor herself, said that her character was weak. And that has been the main problem with this entire new show of Law and Order. It's written so weakly. So weakly. And mainly on the character side. And the thing is like Law and Order is very heavy, always has been very heavily based on the characters and their personal plot lines, even though we never see them at home. That was the smarts of the show. That was like how clever it was. It was like you knew everything about these characters, but we never ever saw them anywhere but the workplace. That was how smart it was. And now it's written so weakly. I'll give you an example. The new ADA, played by Adelia, I think is how you say it, her name. I think her name's Sam, her character's name is Sam. They've tried to make her this deep woman by making her, they're hinting at the fact that she was a victim of domestic violence, but also her sister died. I say these are spoilers, but you learn this very quickly into these new seasons, and she's a brand new character, so it's not really a spoiler. So they've tried to make her deep by giving her some obvious traumas. But let me tell you how they used to write the women in this show, okay? Claire Kincaid was a badass fucking bitch who slept with Jack McCoy but did all the work herself. She was refusing everything that was handed to her, and she had utmost fucking like respect for herself. Like, she didn't give a fuck about anyone else, but she was smart. That was her thing. She was quiet and intelligent, and she had her own stuff, but she was quiet and intelligent, and that was her thing. Like, she was smart on a quiet level, but like, you see what I'm saying? And then they killed her in a car crash. And the fucking reason she died was Jerry Orbach's character, Lenny, which drove him into alcoholism even more. Like, do you see how like knitted the writing was? Second ADA, Serena Sutherland, biggest feminist fucking bitch ever. Biggest, like, flat out smartest fucking bitch ever. Such a feminist, but like not even in like a, I'll explain what I'm about to say, but in a modern day way. She was so like smart about how she presented her beliefs, because the entire point of Law and Order is that regardless of politics and their beliefs, they have to obey the law. And the women ADAs usually were the people to come in and be like, hey, no, like, this is not how this works, or how it shouldn't work. Serena Sutherland, she's sitting opposite the fucking DA. They had several DAs, and like actually several famous actors play the DAs. Adam Schiff is the only one that is of importance, but it wasn't Adam. She's sitting opposite this DA, and she goes, and she's getting fired, and she goes, is it because I'm a lesbian? This is the first time you find out about this in the last few minutes of her last scene. And it was like, it wasn't ever heavily hinted at. It was never a thought that I had watching it. but it was always something that she stood up for. Her feminism, her civil rights, like all of these things were important to her, and it was done so subtly that you just didn't put the pieces together until the end. But it wasn't supposed to be a plot twist. She was leaving and it actually had nothing to do with that, but it was a reveal, and it was to show you like she's a lesbian. She's canonically lesbian. I lost my mind. And then when you look up Serena Sutherland, it's like hottest lesbians. It's like, so we get Alexandra. I think that's the order. Or was it Alexandra first? I think it was Alexandra first before Serena Sutherland. Pretty sure. No, actually it wasn't. I'm wrong. I think it was Alexandra afterwards. Alexandra is in it also for a very short amount of time. But she is equally as strong, equally as loud about things, and that was what made these women strong, because they were underneath essentially Jack McCoy. They did whatever he said. They were the second assistant, and that never mattered to any of these women ever. And that was what made them strong. And it was just like, you knew who they were, even if you found out last minute that they were a lesbian. You knew who they were and you were attached to these characters. And they then killed off Alexandra. She was kidnapped and murdered. I was already traumatized with Claire Kincaid, the love of my life, and now we're here. Now we're here, and I was just, I can't go through it, I'm going to go. And the way that Jack like lost Claire, him and Claire was sleeping together, and he wasn't sleeping with Alexandra, but he forced everyone to show him the body because he wanted to know for certain that she was dead, because he wasn't there when Claire died. I can't even talk about this. I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. The writing, spectacular. Okay, and now we have Sam, and this is what I mean by it's not a spoiler. You're immediately thrown all this information about her traumas. You don't ever really know the traumas too deeply about Claire or Serena or Alexandra. You know the basic stuff about them, and then their personality and beliefs start to come through after season after season after season, and you just fall in love with them. And then maybe at the end you learn the trauma, but that's what worked. It worked so well. But now they're like, Sam is traumatized and she's crying to a man. Feel sad for her. And also, that would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that her character is the weakest woman written on Law and Order ever. And I don't mean weak as in vulnerable or emotional, I do not mean that. What I mean is her character literally just is beck and calls to her version of Jack McCoy, which is I think it's Price. Yeah, Price. So not only is the writing bad, the writing of the character is awful, because she's at this guy's beck and call. She's not really strong on her own, and she's not even strong with him because he's not strong on his own. He's like a 2-year-old boy in a 40-year-old man's body. Like, he's so weak as well. The way that they've written these characters is so pointless, and it hurts. It physically hurts when you binge watch like I did the past couple month even, from season 1 to season 22 or whatever, season 20, something like that. You're like, how did we go from this to this? How has that happened? And then also the cops have changed once every season, so you can't even tell if the writing is really that bad or if it's just the change is happening too frequently, that you're not just able to get attached to these characters at all. In the first season, it was Anthony Anderson, who was in the original Law and Order, but he was in the very last couple of seasons, so he wasn't a main staple. And then another cop, I can't remember his name now, Cosgrove. And then Cosgrove and a new cop whose name I genuinely cannot remember. And then that new cop and another new cop who I think is called Riley or something. I don't know if that's his real name or whatever. So it's like it's changed every single season, so you're not getting attached to literally anyone. So first of all, that's what's bad. You can tell how unplanned this entire show has been, which is a shame, because I think they had the strongest 15 plus 20 seasons of TV history. Seriously. And also, Law and Order SVU to this day is incredible, and that's partially one because it's been going on and on and on. It's grown with the times rather than taking a break. Two, the characters have remained for the most part. So obviously the cast is completely different to how it began, but so was season 20 compared to season 1 of Law and Order. What was important was that we had staple characters. We had enough years to get used to each character. And Amanda Rowland's Carisi, Ice-T is still in it. Like, hello. We obviously have Mariska Hargitay. Like, we have half of the core cast, half of the new cast, but that new cast has been there for years, and that's why it's so strong. I think if those casts start dropping off of SVU, it will also become very weak. But that means they have to write good characters, which I do think they're getting worse at on SVU too. All this to say, I think now that we have a strong woman, thank you, a strong woman back in front of the camera in Law and Order, aka Maura Tierney, I'm excited. I'm really excited. They also put Maura Tierney with aka Olivia Benson. They put them together in a couple of episodes, both on OG and SVU, and the chemistry between these fucking women is stunning, okay? So it started out rough and it started out bad, and I still think that the writing is rough. I think the casting is better. I think the writing of some characters is better. Because if they can write Maura better, then why couldn't they write Dixon better? It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, I think they need to write every other character better. They just do. I think the DA and Maura's characters are the top tier characters of the new series. And I think they need to have people in this who are going to stick around for a long time, but also have their characters be good. Because the current cops, the Riley guy, I don't really like him. The other guy, I like him. I think he's a good actor. I think his character is a bit more fleshed out. Riley one, I don't really like him. I think it's the actor though that I don't like, but I can't tell. We need a better ADA scenario here, guys. We really, really do. But I do have hope, because Maura Tierney is coming to save us. All hail the Maura Tierney worship train. I love that woman. She is such a good actress. I fucking love her to pieces. And also with more crossovers with SVU, I think they're doing it because they know they're flopping so bad, but I think there's a bit of hope there. But my concern is also the plot lines. They are forcing modernism so much. They've had 2 episodes on Palestine where they've not had a single real stance on it, and that's kind of always been the point of Law and Order, but the way they've done it is so these pesky kids obsessed with the genocide, and it's like, what are you talking about? And then all of it is like cybercrime, and like, yeah, of course that's gone up, but like that was 1 in 20 episodes usually in the early 2000s. And like, let's just keep it that way, because physical crimes still are the majority. And the other thing was like, the desperate like grab at like, and like a lot of people have done this in movies and everything, of, and even books as well, which I fucking hate by the way, of like influencers. And I know this is ironic coming from a fucking influencer, someone who works full-time in social media. I know it's ironic coming from me, but it's true. I don't want to know about that. I don't. I already know everything to know about that. I want to know about the things I don't know about. I have learned so much about the law system, the court system, the judicial system in America from Law and Order. The fucking real life lawyer that instructs Law and Order on how to write about the law for every episode is Luigi Mangioni's real life lawyer. And they even did an episode on Luigi Mangione. There was another thing they also did, an episode. They did episodes based on like fucking Gabby Petito. They do all these episodes based on real life stuff. And I get it, because you do just naturally draw from that stuff, even though they have to put a thing at the end that says this is not based on true life events or whatever, when it's literally verbatim, especially in the recent season. It's, you might as well just fucking get Luigi Mangione to play in this. I just think it needs to be stronger. Let's stop talking about influencers and all that crap, okay? And let's just talk about the real stuff. How about that? Write better characters, write stronger plot lines, get some better actors in there, please. And let's just do better. Let's just do better, guys. Do we agree? Thank you. So in conclusion, the new seasons are not fab, but I think with the new additions of Maura and the new DA, that there could possibly be a resurgence of the original Law and Order. I don't have a lot of hope, but I have some. I have a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this absolutely very specific and niche rant of mine. My friend who loves Law and Order SVU doesn't really watch the original, and it kills me because I need everyone to watch it so I can talk about it. But I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. I also realized in my last video I didn't do this, which really severely bothered me, so I'm gonna do two. I did one right there, two there. See you guys, love you, bye.